everyone, Blue here. Today, on the day of uploading this video, it's November 17th, aka my birthday! That's right guys, today I turned 21 years old, aka I'm old enough to drink. You know what I gotta say about that?
I drink to forget, but I always remember.
Since it's my birthday, I thought I'd dedicate today to talk about one of my favorite Zelda games, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Only this time with the twist. I'm going to be talking about the manga version of it. To build up hype to the wonderfully remastered Twilight Princess HD, Nintendo released a manga version of Twilight Princess to flesh out the story and added some very interesting things. For everyone wondering how if this is actually canonical to the official lore of Twilight Princess, well, I say it like this. If it has this logo, then it's definitely canon to me. Now, to make things more visually interesting, I will be showing gameplay of Twilight Princess HD, because I mean, like, come on, this is a manga version of a game, so might as well just show the game, you know? With that, let's dive into the world of Hyrule and check out this surprisingly fantastic manga. The story is both the same and vastly different from the original game. The basic structure is there, but gosh, so much changes. I also must warn that only 4 volumes of this manga have been released, and I currently have the first 2 volumes at the time of writing this script. The entire game's story isn't finished yet, and so far covers post the first dungeon. Considering it has a very wonky release schedule with Volume 5 stated to come out fucking July of next year, then I'd say I'm gonna be 87 by the time this entire manga is finished. Also, I'm personally choosing to read the physical copies. Onto the story now. We start with not Link and Ordon just yet, but actually a brief explanation of the Twilight Realm, along with us actually seeing Zant betray Midna. I really like this change in explaining everything about the Twilight Realm, as it makes things easier to understand, cause this greater emotional impact when, you know, shit hits the fan later in the story. It's after this introduction and Midna's betrayal that we start with Link and his happy life in Ordon Village. We see him having a happy life with all the kids adoring him, Ilia clearly having a thing for Link. And yet Link seems to have a mysterious past in this one. Unlike the game, which implies Link has lived there his whole life, in the manga he's only lived about a year or so in Ordon before the game's events take place. Link also seems to be hiding some kind of dark past that we find out a little bit of later on. Not only this, but he gets strange dreams of a golden wolf and Midna's normal form. Pretty soon villagers are attacked by the Twilight, turning one of the villagers into one and going missing, to which Link's backstory is revealed surprisingly fast. Link comes from a city somewhere in between the Gerudo Desert and Hyrule Field, a sort of Roman-inspired city where people fought with swords for fun and stuff, and I guess protected Hyrule's borders from the Gerudo ghosts? I mean, let's be real here. The Gerudo are dead at this point. What is the point in protecting Hyrule's borders? Everyone on the other side of the border is dead. One day, Link tried to pull out a sword King Arthur style for the hero's shade to appear and try to drag him into the darkness, which in turn actually dragged the entire city instead, leaving Link as the only survivor. He blames himself for this and has a sort of PTSD sort of thing going on. The Boblins come in to attack Ilia and Colin at the Orion Spring, just like in the game, but Jeebus, is it way more brutal and realistic, and I love it. I didn't mention this before, but this manga is surprisingly dark. It's way darker than the actual game of Twilight Princess, that's for sure. King Bulbin grossly thinks about assaulting Ilia. Gosh. Ew. Then Link charges at him because he's evil and fucking gross, but gets his arm cut off. I'm calling it divine intervention, but Ordana revives Link, so Link just kinda gets up and runs to the Twilight Door thingy we see in the game. He's dragged in, and jeepers, his transformation is way more freaky than in the game. The first cutscene where Link transforms into a wolf has always been kind of freaky for me, and to see it drawn like this is really freaky, gosh. He's dragged away by Midna, and Volume 2 begins. Volume 2 also starts with a flashback explaining that Ganondorf was sealed in the Twilight Realm, and gosh, these brutal illustrations, man. I kinda have to censor this, cause it's honestly really gross, but damn, I'll explain the art later soon, I swear. I find it very interesting that though all these bosses you defeat so easily in the game that hardly make an appearance, now suddenly have more character and are more interesting than in the game. Even Zant is given more emphasis, which, Probably makes things a little disappointing when we eventually find out that Zant was just Ganondorf's puppet, but hey, maybe the manga changes that, who knows? Even the monkey boss, which is much angrier and less cartoony than the game counterpart, behaving more like an actual wild ape than some tsundere one, you know? He doesn't even help the boss of the dungeon, he's still mind controlled. It's only after the boss is defeated that the region is freed, with the monkey still being an asshole to Link, cause you know, he's human. Or whatever the fuck Hylians are. The volume ends with Ordana telling Link that he's the chosen one, yada yada yada, but Link questions why he's even the chosen one if he failed so miserably at protecting his friends, wondering if he has what it takes to be a hero. The volume ends with that, along with some wonderfully sweet illustrations at the end. This one being my absolute favorite. Overall, the story, I think, is what Twilight Princess wanted to be, but couldn't for whatever reason they couldn't at the time. So the manga right now feels like what Nintendo wanted to actually write for Twilight Princess. Considering Nintendo has allowed and accepted darker yet mature games like Bayonetta, Binding of Isaac, and Diablo 3 recently to combat the criticisms of too many lighthearted games, then yeah, it feels like this is a step they could have gone in if they made Twilight Princess today. The only thing that confuses me so far is why is the hero's shade almost antagonistic in Link's perspective when he was such a huge help before in the game? Why is he alongside Midna the Dream? That kind of stuff is a bit weird, and I don't know if it's because I didn't read the previous Ocarina of Time manga, but I think they'll explain it later. I always find official Nintendo material about Link to be very interesting. Link is pretty much, as his name suggests in the games themselves, he's a link between the player and the game itself, and don't get me wrong, that's more than fine. But it's fascinating to give a character with no personality other than Hero Boy, well, a personality then. He's strong and proud, but secretly very insecure of himself as a hero, and even hates himself for the fact that his entire village disappeared, essentially because of him. He's fun as well, but also determined and suffers from self-doubt, which makes for a fascinating interpretation of Link. He also talks a lot, which gets bonus points. There's not much difference between manga Midna and game Midna. She's honestly pretty much the same, though her mischievous personality stems more from her trauma of the Twilight Kingdom getting corrupted by Zant rather than, well, she was a little shit prior. Still, Midna is one of my favorite Zelda characters, so it's always awesome to see her in any medium. Still quite the badass, and given a little more chance to flesh out as well, even showing through Ganondorf's flashback that she practices magic in a very interesting way. I always appreciate a Zelda who will cut you in two, and Twilight Princess Zelda has one of the most beautiful Zelda designs, only really getting topped by Breath of the Wild Zelda. Everyone else is a lot more fleshed out. Ilia is a really sweet and less tsundere with good moments type of person. Colin is just a good boy who looks up to Link a lot. Mallow is our ruler and shall dethrone Zelda to rule all of Hyrule with an iron capitalistic fist. And yeah, other than that, everyone else is pretty much the same but more fleshed out. Gosh, the artist for this is amazing. Akira Himekawa did a fantastic job designing all these characters in his art style. Gosh damn, are his panning shots just gorgeous. This picture here of Wolf Link is just stunning, and the way he draws the Bulbins makes them actually terrifying. One of my favorite aspects is the way he draws Midna, making her so expressive with a way to truly capture her personality. From what I can tell, pretty much his only work is Zelda manga, and damn does he do a good job of making manga for the Zelda series. His coloring is incredible too. He draws Link's eyes so fiercely, like a proud wolf on the cover of the manga. Gosh, look at this manga cover. This looks just incredible. Overall, the art is just amazing, and I'm truly stunned at how, like, incredible this art is. Twilight Princess is already one of my favorite Zelda games, and you're telling me Nintendo just made a fantastic manga version of it that does fix quite a few issues people had with the game? Sign me up, fam. This again brings up one thing I always talk about with people when I mention Zelda, but this desperately needs an anime adaptation. Considering animated works based on video games works a fuck ton better than live action ones, then I think an animated version of Zelda would be just brilliant. Hell, we even see what one would kinda be like with that Smash intro for Palutena. I just really love this manga a lot, and I truly can't wait to get volumes 3 and 4, along with major hype for volume 5. With that, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to give me a little birthday present, then please feel free to check out my Ko-fi page down below. See you next time!